You are such a genuine gem. Thank you for clicking on my video. I'm Brooke McKenna, but today we are doing a Q&A. This is kind of for me hitting 30K, but also kind of for the new year as well. I wanted you guys to know me a little bit as well, especially if you are new here, and even if you are old here. You're old here. I still love you just as much. I'm so thankful for all of you guys who care to even ask me a question. If you could invite 5 people, alive or dead, to your dinner party, who would you invite and why? Okay, Oprah, 100%. I think she is such an empath, and I would just love to know how that's affected her being a celebrity. She also just would have incredible motherly advice in general. Another one I think is Harry Styles, and not because he was One Direction, not because he's super famous, but because he seems like such a different soul, and I would really just love to know what he's like in person, and without all the cameras, without being, any sort of celebrity, just being him. Let's see, that's 2. Dead or alive, Harriet Tubman. She is so inspirational, and I can't even imagine what all she went through, and I would just love to know where she got her strength from and how much it meant to her to be doing all of that and how she continued to fight. And I just love to learn from her and be able to go back in history just talking to her. So that's 3. Oh God. Maybe my grandma, so I could ask her if she really is my cat. So I stop seeming crazy. Eliza Jane, I don't remember her last name. She plays Clark on the 100. It's my favorite. Ooh, Eliza or Octavia, which her real name is Marie. Either one of those. My favorite show is the 100. If you haven't watched it, please do so. It's incredible. It's a survival story, and if you're going through anything in your life, it will make you feel like the fighter you are, and will just... It's the whole reason that I changed my mentality from victim to warrior, and it's incredible. So either one of those girls, I love them both. Yeah, those would be my 5 people. Are you planning to do this full time if you're able? How old are you? What are some of your other interests and hobbies? What is your other channel about? Just miscellaneous stuff, or does it focus on one topic? Okay, those are a lot of questions. Am I planning to do this full time if I'm able to? Yes, I would absolutely love to. I do a lot of side hustle-y type things, and I would love to make this my just full time, and we're growing so quickly right now, and I'm so freaking grateful, and I just can feel that 2020 is going to be so successful for all of us. So yes, I would love to make this full time. But my other interests and hobbies, I'm a writer. I absolutely love to write. I write poetry, I write quotes, I write novels. I've written 2 so far. I'm working on a 3rd, and it's the one that I really want to publish and send out and have all of you read. And I like to write more science fiction, survival stories, and stuff that has to do with psychology and mental health, and it's something that I'm super passionate about, and it's one of my biggest hobbies of all time. It's what I do in my free time. I also love to watch movies. I go to the theater literally every week, like several times a week, to watch a movie. I just love stories and seeing them come alive. It's the greatest thing in the world. I also love anything to do with mental health and helping people with that, to know that they can overcome things, that they are stronger than what they think. It's beautiful to me to see somebody coming into themselves and realizing their worth. And what is my other channel about? So if you don't know, I have a channel called Brooke Unwritten. It will be linked down below. I'm just getting started on what I actually want to do over there. It's kind of been miscellaneous, but I am now doing commentary on movies and shows and books while I do my makeup. So it's kind of like a 2-in-1. So those of you who want to know what I use on my makeup, or what I use on my face for makeup, I'll be doing that while doing movie commentaries, and I will also be doing a mental health series on there as well. I've already done one that I talked about antidepressants and unsupportive friends if you want to watch that. But yeah, I'm pretty much going to be doing that. So if that's something you're interested in, definitely go subscribe because I'm super excited about that channel too. I can be a little bit more myself. Some of these questions, by the way, I have already answered in my 20K Q&A, and so I will link that below. If your question isn't answered, it's probably answered in that one. Have you ever encountered someone you did a case about, either by phone, email, or in person? Not someone I did a case about, but they're family members. I've been contacted several times by different family members just thanking me for what I do and asking me, you know, what got me into this, and just leaving the sweetest comments. And it's truly been so shocking every time. And being tagged in missing persons posters on Twitter from family members of the victims that are missing, just it makes me feel like I'm doing what I'm meant to do and helping people, and that people see that. And I love it. Are there times you see yourself taking the cases with you, like cases that have left a deep mark and may have caused you to become depressed after a while? Yes. I've learned how to separate them from, you know, everyday life, and once I research a case, I, you know, put it away until I speak about it again, and I try not to let it linger. But of course, I mean, these are murders, and especially those of children. It can be very hard. Family murders are ones that are especially hard for me to stomach, especially when it's like a child who's murdered their whole family, because it's so shocking. Do they make me depressed? I wouldn't necessarily say depressed. I would say more paranoid, more anxious, and sometimes I do have to take a break from researching because it can, when I'm out and about, I can just see more and worry about more and wonder if I'm safe. And in fact, I got for Christmas a self-defense weapon because that's what I asked for, because that's how much researching these cases can make you aware, which I don't necessarily think is a bad thing either. I just think that you know more of the dark side of the world when you are interested in this stuff. Do I smoke? Well, this is a juicy personal question. No, I don't. I actually don't smoke. I don't drink alcohol. I'm very pure. That's not the right word. I like to be clear-minded, clear-headed. That's the same thing. I don't want anything that's going to affect how I think. I don't do any of that. Also, I'm allergic to alcohol, so yeah, can't do that. May I ask if you are married or have a boyfriend? Well, I'm definitely not married. And no, I don't have a boyfriend, actually. I'm a homebody and I'm not in school at this point, so it's very hard for me to even meet people, and I feel like guys aren't ones to come up and talk to you. Like, I feel like you have to be on a dating app. However, I've tried a dating app and boys on there are ridiculous. So I'm pretty much stuck, a single cat lady, until further notice. When will you get a P.O. box so we can send you something? Oh, she says, my 9 daughters made you something for Christmas and I would love to send it to you. Oh my god, that's freaking amazing. I have never even actually thought about that, but I will definitely start looking into getting a P.O. box because that'd be so cool. And you guys, I would just love to talk to you as far as like letter writing and stuff like that, more than gifts, because that's not my love language anyway. Mine's more words of affirmation, but I know that some of you guys do have a love language that is gifts and giving, and that'd be really cool. Do you have siblings? Where do you fall in the line of siblings? Is there one that you are the closest to? I have 4 siblings. They are all adopted, and I am the oldest. I am probably closest to the youngest, actually, which is surprising, but they're actually the closest one age range to me is 8 years apart, and the youngest is 14 years apart. But him and I get along. We're pretty much the same person, actually, even though he was adopted. And I don't know, he can be ornery, but he's the sweetest guy ever. Do you believe in ghosts/spirits? Yeah, I think I do. In fact, I'm pretty sure we had a ghost in the house the other day. Because I was upstairs working, and all of a sudden I heard this clicking sound. And I looked over my shoulder, and I could see down the stairs, which head straight to like the oven and the microwave. The microwave was flicking. Like the light was flicking on and off. Nobody was around, and it was clicking. And I caught several videos of it, and it didn't stop for a long time. I'm not a ghost, I'm not a super ghosty person. I'm not a ghosty person. I don't think of paranormal things very often, but for some reason in that scenario, I immediately thought it was a ghost. So we might have one in the home with us. So hello, Barbara. I hope you're nice. What circumstances about cases spark your interest the most? Ooh, that's interesting. I think ones where victims haven't gotten justice due, although I do like solved because then at least we as viewers and listeners have some closure that we normally don't. And, unsolved cases can be a little heartbreaking hearing them all the time. But I really love when cases go into detail about the victims, because I found so many where they just float by that and just want to talk about the murder, and that's fine, but what about who was murdered? Why can't we know about them? And so when there's a lot of information on them, I really love to dive deep into those cases. I got a lot of questions about, does researching these cases ever depress you or emotionally exhaust you? And like I said before, yes, they do emotionally exhaust me, definitely. I think you have to be really careful with how much you are putting on your plate. I would call myself kind of a strong person, which can handle a little bit more. Just make sure you're giving yourself some space from true crime in these cases, especially if you feel very weighed down and just sad, because it can affect you. I kind of know my limits, but sometimes I don't want to listen to them, and that is when I get kind of bogged down. But I think we're all just working on trying to find our limits and the balance. So how does being an empath impact you and the work you do in true crime? It's hard, especially when I put more emotion into the case and let my emotions actually come through on video. And then I get comments saying that I'm being overdramatic. I hope that nobody is ever shut down for being emotional, because it's one of the best things to be in the world, to have emotions, to have empathy. And I think when you are told that those emotions make you weak, it's very wrong, or that those emotions make you fake, that's also very wrong. But in regards to actually researching these cases, I think watching videos, especially documentaries, affect me the most, because I can really put myself in the shoes of the victim and feel what they were going through in a way. And that's when it gets hard. But I think more than anything, it is the comments of people not wanting to see those emotions or not liking you because you show them, which is the strangest thing. Do you have an Irish or Scottish heritage? Yes, I am Irish. My grandparents, I believe my grandparents on my father's side, possibly great-grandparents, are full-blooded Irish, so it's kind of trickled down from there. What's your writing routine like? Is it more methodical, or do you write when inspiration strikes? My writing routine, when I am full on in the zone, I feel like it comes in spurts when I want to write, and it's not something I can force. It's like my body is just re-energized, and I'm like, I gotta write, I have a story to tell, I'm doing it. And when I'm in those moments, I mean, I was writing 5,000 words a day at one point. Yeah. And so it goes pretty quickly, and it doesn't matter. It's like for a whole month-long period, I'm filled with inspiration and I can just do it. However, when I'm not in that mindset, I just do it kind of sporadically when the time comes or when I force myself to do it. It's most of the time when I get really passionate or when I get like angry about something and I have this voice inside of me that wants to speak up, I write instead, which I think makes the best writing for me is when I have something that I really want to say, which makes sense, but you know what I mean. When you do these cases, do you try to get in the mind of the killer like a profiler would? Yes, I do. Criminal Minds, my favorite show of all time. Always wanted to be a profiler. I feel like I have really good intuition, can really, find the manipulative people in the room, can find the crazies in the room. And yes, that's definitely what I like to do, is just when I'm not focusing on the victims, I'm focusing on the killer and why they did it. And I kind of like to do victim first and then killer. That's just, that's how it always should be anyway. But as far as doing my cases, I like to learn about the victim and how they met their unfortunate demise, and then go back into the killer and find why they did it, if there's a why. If you could go back to school and study criminology instead of being a beautician, would you? You know what? No, because I'm at the point in my life where I am really okay with the path that I'm on, and it took me a while to get here, and I think that you can have a lot of regrets, especially when your life isn't going exactly how you planned, but I think that everything does work out for a reason, and I don't know if I would have started this channel if I would have studied criminology, because I would have been so invested in the schooling of it and becoming, something in the actual criminal justice field that I'm not sure that I would have had time or even known about the true crime community. But it was because I was still interested in true crime while being a cosmetologist that I found this whole amazing community that I'm in now. How do you find the time to produce and research all of this? I'm a homebody that doesn't have a ton of friends. What true crime sparked your interest in vintage crime? This one is not a particular case. I actually have to give credit to Gabulosis, my good friend Gabby. She is actually the first one I started watching as far as vintage crime, and she made the content so addicting and incredible. And I love her in general, her channel, her as a person, everything, but she is the one that got me introduced into vintage crime. I've always loved vintage style, obviously, but I didn't even know that there were records still out there about vintage crimes. Do you like antiques or vintage items? Not like super expensive ones. Like I'll go to the thrift store and buy things for like a couple of dollars that look vintagey, but I'm not like one of those that need like a super expensive designer vintage item, if that makes sense. Does your family watch your channel? Yeah, my family watches my channel, but not religiously, because they're not really, my dad does because he loves true crime, but the rest of my family is kind of scared of it, so I don't make them watch it because that'd be horrible. But if I could interview someone, maybe David Michael Kruger. If you've seen that case, you know why, but I'll link it down below. Maybe him. I think that I'd be great at interviewing serial killers, and I'm sure every true crime YouTuber says that, but I think I could look a monster in the face and not be scared. Does that make me sound crazy? I hope not. I got a few questions asking how I get over camera-related anxiety. My anxiety was never really about talking to the camera. It was about other people hearing me talk to a camera. And for quite a long time, I would only film when other people were away, like I was home alone, and I made sure that nobody could hear me, and I was like, the door was shut, it was locked. I was in like a corner of my room doing it, and I really just thought of the camera as a camera for quite a long time when I started. Now I've gotten to the point where I know you guys are going to listen, and I love that, and I speak to you from my heart. But I think starting out, it is better to just think of that it's a lens and that you're alone and that nobody's going to watch it, because when you start thinking about how many people watch it, you're going to be like, were you part of the cool group or the nerds in high school? I don't know. It wasn't really like that in my high school, I don't think. To be quite honest, I don't really remember high school, middle school, much of my childhood. I don't know if it's like repressed memories or what. I was a cheerleader from like 7th grade to 11th grade. So I hung out with them a lot, but I don't think that we were mean or necessarily like better than anybody else. I hope not. And then senior year, I quit cheerleading and kind of just hung out with whoever would hang out with me. In high school, whatever group you're in, it doesn't define you. You are a person on your own that's going to do amazing things once you're out of high school regardless. What disappearance do you want solved in 2020? You know, I would love for any case to be solved, obviously, but the case of Tammy Lynn Lappert is baffling and one of the craziest I've ever researched, and I would just love to know what happened to her. I'd love to know she's alive somewhere, but to just have answers in general would be great. I'd love to hear any of your guys' answers to these questions as well, because I love to know you guys as well. It's not just a one-way street here. I want to know you too. And so yeah, don't ever forget to speak up. Your voice is powerful enough, and I love you to absolute pieces. Okay, bye.